Join palms and bow. The four great vows. I vow to deliver innumerable sentient beings of self-nature. I vow to cut off endless vexations of self-nature. I vow to master limitless approaches to Dharma of self-nature. I vow to attain supreme Buddhahood of self-nature. Good evening. I'm teaching because Gilbert is just returning from a meditation retreat over the weekend. So today, I've been working on the Buddha nature treatises and sutras, and I was starting to restudy the Sutra of Complete Enlightenment. And Master Shingen has a book on it, and in the preface to that, the book, he says that Zongmi, a patriarch in both the Huayan as well as the Chan schools from the late 8th and early 9th century BC, Tang dynasty. So for him, this Sutra of Perfect Enlightenment or Complete Enlightenment was groundbreaking, delusion shattering. Basically, he had this experience where he picked up the sutra, read a few lines of the sutra, and he had an awakening experience. And so Master Shingen talks about that, and then Zongmi studied the sutra a lot, and then wrote commentaries on it as well. So then I had to look up Zongmi, and it's really amazing how he brings together the just practice aspect of Chan, as well as the study, the sutra study, and the philosophical backing for what he's talking about. So it's this bringing together of practice and study, very much like Master Shingen, advocated. Because if you remember, before, when Master Shingen was practicing Chan, as a student in a monastery, it was just like, just meditate. Nobody taught them how to meditate, and nobody taught from the sutras. So Master Shingen, he was groundbreaking in his own way, because what he did was he recognized the importance of study alongside practice, because study informs right view, and right view is what guides and transforms practice. So, of course, Master Shingen went on to get a PhD, and then created this university where so many others are getting their PhDs. So here we are in our tradition that combines study and practice, and Zongmi, as an ancestor of Chan, very much combined study and practice. So it's very interesting. One little aside before we delve into today's topic, on a particular one sentence that's very potent. So so Zongmi, so he had this awakening, and then he practiced. So we often in the Chan school, we talk about sudden awakening, or is it gradual or sudden, right? So Zongmi, what he advocated is, of course, you practice until you have a sudden awakening, whereby there's insight, but then after sudden awakening, there's gradual cultivation so that insight can permeate and remove all of the habitual obscurations that prevent a complete alignment with that awakening. So today's topic is about this one sentence from Shen that that's been a point of contention, but it's amazing. It's just amazing. There's this one article I came across about this one sentence, and actually that one sentence, there's one word in that one sentence. That's quite an amazing article. I put a link to it. I'm going to put a link to it again here. The article is called Sung Mi, which is the Wade Guide's old romanization of the name Zongmi. Now in Pinyin, Zongmi is spelled like that. And the one word is awareness. So this article is by Peter N. Gregory, who has a book on Zongmi. And the article is called Sungmi and the Single Word Awareness. For those of you on the YouTube, if you want to just look it up, and by Peter and Gregory. So this article talks about this one line, and this line is kind of pretty poetic for people who speak Chinese. So I'm just gonna share that on the screen for you so that you can see what it is, and it'll be. If you know Chinese, it'll be of more interest to you. Give me one moment. So here it is. The sentence itself is the one word, awareness is the gateway to all mysteries. And by mysteries, you can translate it to the inconceivable, that awareness is the gateway to the inconceivable. And in Chinese, that word awareness is zhe in the first tone. And if somebody could read this out, that'd be really nice. You see how many zhe is there in this? It's just kind of. I'm sure it'll sound really. I don't want to butcher it. Could somebody read this out, please?
Can I try? Oh, sorry.
Yes, Vadim, go ahead, and then please.
No, it's better somebody who speaks Chinese is much better.
Well, why not you try and then somebody else tries as well? So that'll be, why not?
Okay. Gigi is Zhong Miao Zhimen.
Thank you. Does somebody else want to say that also?
知之一字众妙之门.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And have a look at this one word. The one word we're really interested in is that zhe. The first one, zhe. And it means awareness. So that's the one word. And that practicing that one word is the gateway to the inconceivable. The contention happened in I think the 1950s sometime, when D.T. Suzuki had an argument with the Hu She. And Hu She translated this sentence. So this sentence, by the way, comes from Shen Hui. And who is Shen Hui? Shen Hui was really the person. Maybe he's the person who made up Chan to be what it is right now, because the sixth patriarch Hui Nang is really, even though Chan originated with the first patriarch Bodhidharma, and it continued, and there's beautiful teachings from all of the successors of Bodhidharma up until Hui Nang. Hui Nang was this turning point in Chan and established Chan as it is right now. And I'm not going to go into that whole story about how he inherited the transmission from his teacher, the fifth patriarch Hong Ren, and the Southern School came to be, and the sudden enlightenment, which really characterizes Chan, came to be from Hui Nang. And Shen Hui was Hui Nang's student. And it is said that Shen Hui is the one who really told the story of Huineng in such a way that it established Chan as a lineage that was unbroken from Mahakashyapa, from the Buddha to Mahakashyapa, and onwards, all the way to Bodhidharma, and then all the way to Huineng. So Shen Hui is the great storyteller, historian of Chan. And this sentence comes from Shen Hui. The one word awareness is the gateway to all mysteries. This sentence comes from Shen Hui. And Zongmi was a few generations after Shen Hui, and he was a patriarch in both the Chan tradition from Huineng through Shen Hui, as well as from Huayan, from the Huayan school. And in fact, his Chan school was called the Heze school, and Heze is Shen Hui's other name. I'm not sure first, second name. Shen Hui, his full name was Heze Shen Hui. So that's the school that Zongmi is coming from, and this is a key sentence from Shen Hui, who was the originator of his school, of Zongmi's Chan school. And the key word here is awareness, that je. And the contention that D.T. Suzuki in the Japanese Zen modern era, 1900s, who made Zen popular in the West. And Hu She translated this sentence as the one word, knowledge is the gateway to all mysteries. And knowledge, I think we can all see that knowledge is like something that has been acquired and something that is more phenomenon than noumenon, and is more surface than the source. So D.T. Suzuki very rightfully disagreed with Hu She and said that no, that's not the right translation. And he said the one word is actually prajna, intuition, which is how he interpreted it, but he equated it with the fourth tone je that I've got on the right, which actually means wisdom. That it's more like prajna, je. The other one is je, first tone, awareness. That's the one that Shen Hui had, whereas D.T. Suzuki translated it as wisdom. The one word wisdom is the gateway to all mysteries. And in this paper, Peter Gregory really makes a wonderful case for, well, D.T. Suzuki was wrong as well, as wonderful a teacher and Zen practitioner as D.T. Suzuki was, and as wonderful as his contributions to Zen and to Buddhism was, that D.T. Suzuki was wrong as well. And he draws upon, I'm going to stop sharing, he draws upon all of the other places where, where Zongmi has used this word to say that this word, when Zongmi uses it, has a very special and specific meaning, and it is not wisdom at all. So, what is so then, it's like, what is it that what is wisdom? What is prajna? So prajna is what cuts through delusion. Prajna is what cuts through delusion. But he says this awareness is beyond any cutting through. This awareness is something that is always there. So, and as such, it transcends even wisdom. So in this, when we talk about it this way, I've lectured on the Prajna Paramita before and how Nagarjuna defines Prajna Paramita. And Prajna Paramita is seeing both the specific characteristics and the general characteristics of everything. So in that way, the way Prajna Paramita is defined is beyond just this Prajna. So Prajna Paramita is the ripening of Prajna. It is beyond Prajna. And elsewhere, Prajna Paramita is said to be equivalent to Buddha nature itself. So, and Zongmi is coming at this from the perspective of Buddha nature. And he is going at this from the other direction. So, Gilbert often talks about it from the direction of mind, or is it from the direction of consciousness? So Zongmi is coming at this from the direction of mind. In fact, in other places, where in this one sentence, the sentence was what? The sentence was the one word awareness is a gateway to all mysteries. In other places, instead of using the word gateway, man, he has used the word origin or yuan. So that is truly turning the mind's eye inwards. Instead of like turning and looking at, we're looking at delusion, and if you cut through delusion, there's mind itself. Instead of looking at it like that, it's like there's mind itself. It's always there, delusion or not delusion. So that's how Zongmi is approaching this. So let's see here if I can read something to you. So more on this one word, and a little bit, this article is a little bit difficult to read because it's all in the romanization is all Ved guides, which is the old romanization, not Pinyin. So Ja is one of a series of synonyms that Zongmi uses for the key term within his system of thought. And when he's talking about his system, he's talking about the Hezi school, which is Shen Hui school, and also the Huayan, the way he pulls those two together. Sometimes Zongmi uses it singly, and at other times it's in co-location with other words, such as numinous awareness, Ling Zhe. And I encourage Chinese speakers to just look at that PDF, because there's no way I'm going to pronounce any of these words correctly, but it'll be good for you to read them yourself. So he says he uses this awareness in a very specific way. He uses it sometimes as numinous awareness. Numinous. So even English speakers, we do need a dictionary for some of these words. Numinous means like sacred, divine. So he talks about it as the sacred of divine awareness. And he talks about it as numinous awareness unobscured. That means this is a sacred awareness that is not obscured. Ever-present awareness. So it's always there. It's as opposed to prajna, which cuts through delusion, right? We're not talking about something that cuts through delusion. We're talking about something that's always there. So that's the ever-present awareness. Chang Je, and empty, tranquil awareness. Pong Je Che, Je. So that's empty, tranquil awareness. It is at once the ultimate source of both phenomenal reality and enlightenment, and therefore also the fundamental basis an object of Chan. So he's really making it clear that this awareness is always there, and this awareness is empty, tranquil, and it is a source of all phenomenal reality, and it is a source of enlightenment, is a fundamental basis, and it is the object of Chan. Why is it the object of Chan? Because that is the purpose of our practice, to to know awareness. Okay. Sumi or Zomi identifies it with true nature, mind ground, and Tathagata Garbha. It is the axial principle of the highest level of Buddhist teaching, that which he refers to as a teaching which directly reveals that the true mind is the nature. So he talks about this one word, awareness, is a teaching which directly reveals that the true mind is the nature. And he writes in his book, Chan Chart, all dharmas are like a dream, as the various sages alike have explained. Thus, deluded thoughts are intrinsically tranquil, and sense objects are intrinsically empty. The mind, which is empty and tranquil, is numinously aware and unobscured. This very awareness, which is empty and tranquil, is the empty, tranquil mind transmitted previously by Bodhidharma. Whether deluded or enlightened, mind is intrinsically aware in and of itself. It does not come into existence dependent upon conditions, nor does it arise because of sense objects. When it is deluded, it is subject to defilements, but awareness is not these defilements. When it is enlightened, it displays supernormal powers, but awareness is not these supernormal powers. The single word awareness is the source of all mysteries. That's him talking. And note that he changed what Huineng said. Huineng, in that sentence, he had said it is the gateway, mun, of all mysteries. Here, he says that it is the source, yuan, of all mysteries. So he's truly flipping it and coming at it from the side of the absolute, from the side of mind, instead of trying to break through to mind from the side of delusion, of phenomena. So let me read this to you one more time. All dharmas are like a dream, as the various sages alike have explained. Thus, deluded thoughts are intrinsically tranquil, and sense objects are intrinsically empty. The mind, which is empty and tranquil, is numinously aware, sacredly aware, and unobscured. This very awareness, which is empty and tranquil, is the empty, tranquil mind transmitted previously by Bodhidharma. Whether deluded or enlightened, the mind is intrinsically aware in and of itself. It does not come into existence dependent upon conditions, nor does it arise because of sense objects. When it is deluded, it is subject to defilements. But awareness is not these defilements. When it is enlightened, it displays supernormal powers, but awareness is not these supernormal powers. The single word awareness is the source of all mysteries. And Robert is asking for. And that's the PDF, Robert. And I'm glad Robert is here because there's a point on translations where he's. I'll refer to you, Robert. So he's talking about mind. That mind is not. It's not about. Is it deluded, or is it enlightened? awareness is not dependent on any of these. It is not the defilement. It is not the supernormal powers. It is the source. So Zhongmi's, so Zhongmi, what he's saying is that there was this. Then he had to answer this question. So if this word is so important, if this word awareness is so important, why did nobody talk about this before Shen Hui? Why wasn't it mentioned? Because before, right, Vadim, yes. So Peter Gregory, Vadim just mentioned that is a literal quote from Tao Te Ching, and Peter Gregory also mentions that it is from there as well. So and Peter Gregory has a book called Zongmi and the Sinification of Chan. So I bet that this is a big part of the sinification, the Chinese making of Chan. So 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 the question arises: how come Bodhidharma didn't talk about awareness? So remember that Zongmi, he's bringing together Chan and the Huayan school. The Huayan school is a very scholarly school, and Chan is a very practical, practice-oriented school, and he's bringing these two schools together. Now, and of course, he recognizes the importance of study, and so he has to now say, if I'm saying that this one word is so very important, I have to justify how come nobody said this before. How come Bodhidharma talked about mind, but he didn't talk about awareness? How come? So ja was never, which is his word awareness, was never used by Bodhidharma, who instead used the word mind, Shen, to designate the cardinal principle of Buddhism. and then why is that? So then he says it's because he says that it's because so Bodhidharma wanted to directly point to mind, and he wanted to let awareness be the silent teaching. So let me read this to you. This is from his book Chan Preface, Zongmi's book Chan Preface. It was only because people in China, being deluded about the mind and attached to the written word. So when Bodhidharma came, it's all about the historical context, and it's all about upaya. That's the point that he's making. And when Bodhidharma came to China, there were lots of misunderstandings about Buddhism, and there were scholars. So Bodhidharma did something very radical by saying it's directly pointing at mind, that it's not about any words or phrases. So it's in the Chan manifest, if you will, that it's not about words or phrases, it's about directly pointing at mind. So the historical context matters. So Bodhidharma skillfully distinguished between the written word and the transmission of mind. And in making the name known, mind is the name. He made the name known, silently pointed to the essence, and awareness is the essence. He illustrated it by using wall gazing, etc. So, and when Bodhidharma taught to Huike, his descendant, his Dharma heir, and Huike came to Bodhidharma and said, "Hey, my mind is all disturbed," and he said, "Just show me the mind that is disturbed," and he couldn't. He tried so hard and he couldn't. By looking, he had cut through his conditioning. So, and Bodhidharma asked him, have you gotten rid of it or not? He answered, even though I have cut off all thought, I have still not got rid of it. So this was about he cut off all conditioning. And Bodhidharma then asked, what proof do you have to say that you haven't gotten rid of it? Quaker answered, it is utterly self-evident. Words could never get at it. The master thereupon sanctioned him, saying, just this is the intrinsically pure mind. Have no further doubts. So the work that Quaker did was to cut through his conditioning and to directly experience mind. And Bodhidharma confirmed his experience of directly experiencing mind. And here, so here Bodhidharma, he never spoke the word awareness, but he simply waited for him to realize it for himself. So Bodhidharma was directly pointing at mind. But he didn't use the name. He used the name mind, but he didn't talk about the essence of mind, which, according to Zongmi, is awareness. And he was thus able to transmit the mind seal silently. The word silently merely means that he was silent about the word awareness. It does not mean that he didn't say anything at all. And such was the transmission throughout the first 6 generations. And 6th patriarch is Huineng. When it came to the time of Huzi, that's Shen Hui, however, other lineages were spreading contention. Even though he wanted to reach a silent understanding, the situation would not allow for it. Moreover, reflecting on Bodhidharma's prediction of the dangling thread. So Bodhidharma had said, the fate of my teaching will, after the 6th generation, be like a dangling thread. And fearing that the cardinal principle would perish, he thus said that the single word awareness is the gate of all mysteries. Now, so Zongmi is making a case as to why Bodhidharma never said anything about awareness and how come Shen Hui is now saying awareness. So it's all about the teacher is always teaching to the conditions. So if you look at the Buddha's teachings, every time there's a person he's addressing, and the teaching is targeting that person. So the same way, Bodhidharma, when he came, he had to just say, forget about words and phrases, everybody. I'm directly pointing to mind and just get mind. So that's that. And when he was pointing to mind, what was gotten was not mind as a thing. There's a difference between mind and awareness. Mind is a noun, and awareness is an activity. And mind as a noun can be misunderstood easier. And so that was what was happening at Shen Hui's time, and that's why Shen Hui had to clarify a little bit further and said that, hey, it's awareness. And so in doing this, he was employing upaya, expedient means. So and that's because at the time that Shen Hui was teaching, and Zongmi is magnifying Shen Hui's teaching, because at Zongmi's time as well, he felt that there was this danger of the Chan school going off the rails. Now, Now this is really, is very interesting for us, because one of the big reasons why Zongmi was worried about the Chan school was a teacher who we really admire. Mazu school was called Hongzhou, and I'm not pronouncing that right at all. I know that it's very hard for me to get the tones even right, so I'm not even trying. So Mazu's school was one of the contentious schools, that one of the schools where Zongmi was really worried about Chan going astray. So that's why he had to talk up, speak up. And so remember what Mazu said? Mazu said, just this mind is the Buddha. Remember that. Just this mind is the Buddha. So here is Zongmi, and he's really worried that people would misunderstand and misapply that teaching. So he's saying it's not, because just imagine this, just this mind is the Buddha. Then you could say, take the deluded mind, just this mind is the Buddha. If applied right, if applied with right view, this is true. Just this mind, just as it is, just the mind that you're using right now is the Buddha mind. No other mind but this. And I have I have talked about this, and I have also done meditations just based on this, especially with Cold Mountain. Han Shan's simply accord with whatever state of mind you're in. That so powerful. Just this mind is the Buddha mind. No other mind but this. But if you don't come at this with right view, then you can delude yourself by saying, I'm angry right now. Just this mind is the Buddha mind. And you could just decide to continue to remain angry. That would be the wrong application of Matsu's teaching. And that is a wrong application that Zongmi was really, really worried about. And that's what made him really magnify what Shen had said about the single word awareness as being the source, the gate, the gateway according to Shen, and as the source according to Zongmi of all mysteries, which means of the inconceivable. So that's kind of a historical context, and so Zongmi is saying that it's not as though Bodhidharma wasn't pointing to awareness. When he was pointing at mind, he was actually pointing at awareness, but he didn't want to make a big deal of the words. But now it's time to make a big deal of the words. Why? Because of this historical context that Matsu had said, just this mind is the Buddha, and Zongmi was worried that just this mind meant just this deluded mind as well, and that it could be mistaken. And remember that Zongmi, in a passage that I read before, that Zongmi is saying that whether deluded or enlightened, the mind is intrinsically aware in and of itself, right? So Zongmi is making a finer distinction, and he's saying whether mind is deluded or enlightened, it is intrinsically aware. It's always aware. So that's what he said. And remember that he's saying this awareness is the same as Tathagata Garbha. And if you know what Tathagata Garbha, that's Buddha nature, that it actually means the Tathagata is thus come or thus gone. it points to the suchness aspect of the Buddha. And Tathagata Garbha means womb, and Buddha nature is our intrinsic awakened nature. And when Zomi is saying that this one word awareness is the same as Tathagata Garbha, he's saying that this awareness is always there, just like Buddha nature is always there. Our intrinsic awakening is always there. And just as the Tathagata Garbha can be, it's this womb is also a metaphor of the covering. So there's also a covering of our intrinsic awakened nature by all of our delusions. But it doesn't take away our intrinsic awakened nature. And so when Zomi is saying is that this word awareness is a better word, and it is a one word that is both the gateway and the source of the inconceivable. And that is because whether deluded or awakened, there's always awareness. So, and there's more, but before that, I just wanted to do a little bit of an experiment. A little practice, because when I teach, I find it much easier. It goes better if there's a little bit of an experiential aspect of the teaching. So Zomi is saying this is this awareness, right? That no matter if you're deluded and no matter if you're awakened, there's awareness. So notice this in your current state of mind, whatever that might be. Can you be aware of the fact that you are aware right now? That even if your mind is wandering, there is an awareness. If there were no awareness, there would be no wandering at all possible. So there's an awareness. There's an underlying awareness. Whatever it is that is coming through the sense doors, whatever it is that you may be seeing, you can be aware that you're seeing. And that without awareness, there could not be any seeing. And whatever it is that you're hearing, you can be aware that you're hearing. And without this awareness, there could not be any hearing. And whatever you're sensing in the body, all of the touch sensations right now, the firm touch sensations of your body resting on the surface that's supporting you, the lighter touch sensations of clothes on your body, the even finer touch sensations of air touching your skin. And as you're aware of this, you're aware that there are touch sensations. And without the awareness, there could not be any sensing, body sensing. And however busy or not busy your mind is, your personal mind, the state of your state of mind is, you can be aware of that. And this awareness is the same awareness without which there couldn't be any state of mind whatsoever. What does it feel like to be aware of awareness itself? How does that change experiencing? Perhaps there's a little bit less of getting caught up in all of the content of your experience. And there is simply more awareness of awareness itself. I want to hear from you now. What was that like? What was that little exercise like? Any comments? What were your findings? How was it different from what it was like before you did that exercise? Hey, Ian.
I found it to be very interesting. In the beginning, I was just trying to see where awareness was coming from. And it pretty much just left me at like unable to look any deeper. Like I could not probe with any sort of idea or perception underneath awareness. And so in that way, it simplified a lot of the experience. And it was especially interesting when you talked about being aware of awareness and what that was like. The words that came up were exactly as you described them, that there was just a detachment from the content of awareness. So it was very good.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate the clarity of when you share. Love the clarity. Appreciate it so much. Thank you. Yeah. Hi, Robert.
Hi. I try to put it simply, more simple. I agree with what Ian just say, but I put it in slightly different way. The being, the aware, the I, or that is being aware, seems all those channel of awareness seems very busy, very noisy, and it is the contrast is very pretty obvious. One is really judgmental. Oh, I feel cold when the wind blow? I feel disturbed when a dog next door is barking, disturbing me. But the awareness of the awareness, that part of it is very quiet. It just seems to take a stance that it just just know, K-N-O-W.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't take any action. Not
Mm-hmm.
even, it's not that it doesn't care. It just seems to know. And
Mm-hmm.
it just keep knowing without passing any opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty contrast. It's
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's what happened the last couple minutes.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay. So couple of remember that, you know, earlier on, the Peter Gregory, he talks about how Zongmi uses this word awareness, and the words that he used were tranquil, empty awareness, tranquil awareness, ever present awareness. So if you look at your experience, if you look at it, this always this awareness. It's only this awareness that allows you to become aware of whatever is around you visually, to hear whatever is coming through the sense door of your hearing, right? And but what happens is that we get caught up in the content, in all of what's coming in through the sense doors. And we make two out of what was not two before, right? So that's our conditioning, that we have separated what was inseparable, right? So Zongmi, you know, he says that he makes this distinction between name and essence, and he says that mind is the name. It's a noun, if you will. Mind is a noun, and this awareness that we are talking about is the essence of mind. So he's saying it's the essence of mind. Just like water is a name and it behaves a certain way according to conditions, but wetness is its essence. Just like that, he says awareness is the essence of mind. Just as water is merely a name, not water itself. Wetness is water itself, and it's not a mere name. So mind is merely a name, not the mind itself. And awareness is the mind itself, and not a mere name. Moreover, just as one who understands the wet nature of water thereby also understands all of its various conditioned forms, so too one who understands awareness thereby also understands all of the various conditioned forms that mind can assume. Now, so he's making a distinction here, but I also want to let you know that when we use mind in the Chan school, we mean mind in the same way he means wetness as well. So I'm not advocating for, you know, or using awareness instead of mind, but there's so much richness in what Zongmi is saying right now. And this is also like, hey, this is Shan as well. So it's like sometimes we think that our, you know, the Chan school is homogeneous, but that is not. Just like there is nothing that is homogeneous, that everything is compound and conditioned, so is Chan, and so is the terminology that we use. But the takeaway here is that Zongmi is saying, don't just rest. I'm not saying Zongmi saying, okay, I will say that this is a takeaway from here, from what Zongmi is saying, that don't just settle for a shallow understanding of mind. Don't think that mind is a thing. Look through to the intrinsic nature of mind itself. And here, Zomi is quoting Shen Hui, his school's first patriarch, if you will, Herze school's first patriarch. Now he's quoting him as saying, awareness is that essence of mind. That word is also can be thrown out. Awareness also can be thrown out. What is the essence of mind? Right? What is the essence of mind? So, but I think it's very skillful. What Zomi is saying is very skillful, and is also very deep and broad in the way he takes this word awareness and he uses it in more places. I'm not sure if we'll have time to do. There's like 3 or 4 beautiful things that this article is really rich, and it says. But maybe I'll point to a couple of different things. But this awareness is an activity. That's one of the things that he talks about. Let me see if I can find out the place where he talks about this. So he talks about how, there's the absolute aspect of mind, there's a conditioned aspect of mind. But first, this word, a little bit about the word that Peter Gregory has used to translate je. He's translating it as awareness, right? So he is saying that the awareness, he's saying the awareness as a functioning of the self nature thus represents a dynamic and creative aspect of the nature. And this is the nature of mind itself, okay? And it's therefore important to know that the word je is primarily verbal, meaning to know. It means to know. It's verbal here. He's talking about it's a verb. It's not a noun. So as opposed to mind is a thing, this is talking about it is a happening. It's a verb. It's to know. Even when it is used nominally, as it is by Zomi, its verbal force is still retained nominally. What he means is, even if it's used as a noun, because awareness is a noun, even when it's used as a noun, it's pointing to activity. So it is still pointing to the verb. That which je refers to then is an activity rather than a thing. For this reason, it is preferable to the word mind, Shin, which as a noun is more apt to be reified. Reified means to make a thing out of, to solidify. The English word knowing, accordingly, might seem to be a better translation of je. So it's like it's a knowing. So the single word knowing is the gateway to the inconceivable, to all of the mysteries. So maybe you could use knowing as an activity, right? Because it could be seem to be a better translation of je, as it more faithfully represents both the literal meaning and the verb-like character of the Chinese word. The problem with knowing as a translation, however, is that in English, the verb to know is transitive and demands an object, which means that when we use the word know, it's always, do you know this? It's always talking about what you know. So it seems to always imply an object, but that is not the the way the Chinese word is used. But Zhongmi emphasizes the fact that zhe is intransitive. It's not about an object at all, right? And it does not demand an object. And awareness, insofar as it is possible to be aware without necessarily being aware of anything, better expresses the intransitive character of zhe. So you see how this how translation is a wonderful practice. It's just a wonderful practice. And Peter Gregory is saying that this word, we could say it's knowing, because knowing is a noun version of a verb, right? And it retains more of the verb than the noun. It is not a thing. However, in English, when we say know, it's always about knowing something. So that the object seems to be implied. But awareness, you can be aware without being aware of something. So awareness is better. And this is where I was thinking of you, Robert, because when you talked about your practice, you've used the word awaring, that you just awaring. And that's a made up verb version of the word awareness or aware. But that, if we had a word like that, that would have been a perfect translation. So now you see, what is it? What is this? What is the one word that is the gateway to all mysteries and is also the source of all mysteries? Is this awareness as an activity. And there's so much depth to this, where he talks about how that awareness is always there. It's an ever-present awareness. And in our little exercise that we did, when you're aware of being aware, which you have already been aware. You just weren't aware of the fact that you were aware. So when you're aware of being aware, then there's a lessening of diluted activity. And so you can see in a very short exercise the power of awareness, of this knowing without an object, the knowing that is always there, right? The awareness that is always there. So, Ernest.
Yes, thank you very much, Sentha. I appreciated very much that we are not reifying this.
Mm-hmm.
That was very important for me to hear, because I have wondered sometimes when we're talking about mind, if it is in fact being reified in our minds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I see the real danger of that. So when I teach, I try to not use the same exact words. I try to be a little bit more loosey-goosey in a bit of a precise way.
Yes, and yeah, and when we were doing the exercise, I was thinking how unaware we are of being aware most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was also feeling the supreme awareness that is within me and around me, for lack of a better way to put it.
That is not confined to you.
Right, correct. And I was also thinking about some of the teachings in Michigan this past weekend, where Gilbert gave us the basic list of the components of meditation. And the first one was awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Mere awareness was what we talked about a lot of.
Mm-hmm.
And I could also see myself sitting like the mirror, looking at the other mirror, as awareness resting in front of awareness.
Mm-hmm.
In the same way that we talk about mind resting in front of mind.
Right. It's about turning the mind's eye inward.
Correct. So, yes.
Yes. And it's also about like returning to the source. He's talking about this source, right? It's about returning to the source.
And it's the source and the gateway.
And the gateway, yeah.
It's both.
At the same time, yeah. 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 So so there's so much rich material in this article. I encourage you to read it. Let me see if there's anything else I want to really pick out and share to you. So there's something I think I should. I'm looking at what I absolutely should share with you. So he has a couple of models, like some, couple of examples, analogies. There's one analogy, or maybe like 3 different analogies. Oh, let me share this with you. So he talks about how pratitya samutpada is conditioned origination. Dependent origination is another word for it, dependent origination. And the dependent origination is all about how phenomena depend on other phenomena, right? They arise, one thing arises based on others. So let's see if I can find the... He uses this metaphor of a mirror. So how you could have a highly, he used a metal bronze. So you could have a mirror that is just bronze, but it's highly polished, so it's reflective, right? So then he talks about how the bronze is the essence of the mirror, the material, it's the essence of the mirror. And then there's this reflective surface. And then there is what is reflected upon the mirror. So he talks about, the various images that are reflected in the mirror are contingent upon the different objects that appear before it. Those objects themselves ultimately being contingent upon an infinite series of causes and conditions. And this conditioned origination, this is conditioned origination or pratitya samutpada. So here's all of this is just what everybody knows about, but here's the juicy part. However, there's another kind of causality, one which makes the previous one possible, one which makes pratitya samutpada possible. This is what in the Huayan tradition that Zongmi inherited is referred to as nature origination. If the previous, what we talked about, pratitya samutpada, is dependent origination, this new term is nature origination. In Chinese is Xing Qi. No, probably like Ji. Quoting Fatsang, Zongmi defines nature origination as the arising of functioning based on the essence. Nature, he explains, refers to the one mind of the awakening of faith. Awakening of faith in the Mahayana. Note to Ian. Nature, he explains, refers to the one mind of the awakening of faith, the pure mind that is the ultimate source of Buddhas and sentient beings. Origination refers to the manifestation of the manifold phenomena of the universe from the nature, the process of phenomenal appearance. Nature means the nature of the essence, and origination, the phenomenal appearance of the essence. So nature origination thus means that all phenomenal appearances are ultimately based upon the nature, whereas conditioned origination or dependent origination connotes the relative interdependency of all phenomenal appearances. And here he says that the two causalities, these are two different types of causality, they can be visualized as a cone. I've got a little diagram of a cone. So they can be visualized as a cone. The circular surface of the cone, that's called the directrix. The directrix is like, if how do you make a cone? You take a line and you move it on, you keep one end of it constant, stable, stationary, and you move the other end of it on a circle. That circle is called the directrix. And that circular surface of the cone would represent the dimension of conditioned origination. So that circular surface is Pratitya Samutpada, where every point is connected with every other point in a causal series. So to take just a circle, if you took one point off, it would fall apart. It wouldn't be a circle anymore. Pratitya Samutpada is like this, all phenomena are like this, that they're all intricately dependent on one another. So, but each phenomenal appearance, however, in addition to being conditioned by all of the other phenomenal appearances, is also a manifestation of the nature, which in the image of the cone could be represented by the vertex, that stationary point, that vertex, that tip of the cone. Not only is each point on the directrix, that's a circle, not only is each of those points, is it linked with every other point on the circle, it's at the same time also linked with the vertex at the tip. Just as all phenomenal appearances are simultaneously interdependent, that's the Pratitya Samutpada, and the manifestation of the nature, which is their ultimate ground. The direct and simultaneous linkage of each point of the circle with the vertex represents a dimension of nature origination. Okay, what in the geometric terminology of this image is aptly determined as generatrix. So that line that connects each point on the circle to the vertex is called generatrix. So it's very interesting. That word is really interesting because if you remember from several months ago when Gilbert was teaching from Edward Conz's the Ashta Sahasrika Prajnaparamita Sutra, the long Prajnaparamita Sutras, that Prajnaparamita is considered the mother of all Buddha, and there's a slightly similar but different word, genetrix. Genetrix, the Prajnaparamita is a genetrix of all Buddhas. So that it's the same. It would be like generatrix is going from this side, and generatrix is what is generating something. Genetrix is what is giving birth to something. So very, very similar. So so this is that all phenomena has as its source this essence. And this word awareness is always there, just in this exercise that we did. No matter what the contents of your experience, that awareness is always there, just like that point, the vertex is always there, even though you may be consumed by what is happening on that circular surface, that vertex is always there. So I think that this is a model that Peter Gregory has come up with to illustrate Zongmi's teaching, and I thought it was a very interesting model. And so with that, I think I'll open for questions, and And it's a beautiful article. I was, like I mentioned, it was a bit of a tangent for me because I was working on Buddha nature and the Sutra of Complete Enlightenment, Master Shengen's book. And then there was a little mention of Zongmi, and I wanted to get in and see what Zongmi contributed. And oh my gosh. Any questions? Vadim?
Yes, Tanta, I wanted to thank you. That was your lecture today was really a beautiful demonstration of the unity of study and practice. And what I wanted to share when you pointed to this state of awareness, it also feels like this is a state in which there is no fear, anxiety, and everything, right? But then inevitably the self returns and pulls you away from this state by saying that it's pretty dangerous not to be afraid of anything, because then where are you? How can you exist in this world without constantly anticipating the dangers and the situations that might come? And I wanted to ask you how to behave in this situation, because ultimately the self is still what drives the everyday life.
No, actually, yeah. So there's a lot of layers to your question. So you know, so the self doesn't aware. Sorry, the self doesn't drive. It's a self is a concept. It's a made up concept. There is no one body. There is no one body.
But in the everyday life, I exist on this premise that there is one.
No,
Otherwise,
which is the Vadim that is the real Vadim? You know, ask the real Vadim to show up. Is the real Vadim different from the real Sentha? That question is no different from the question, what is awareness? But let's take a step back and just talk about the worldly. There's a worldly aspect of the questions that you brought up as well. That there's an illusion that you need to be on the lookout, that you need to be alert at all times to protect, to be safe. It's worth checking out to see, is that really true in this moment? In this moment, are you actually safe? I'm talking about physical safety, because there's no end to, I make this distinction when I teach about physical tigers and conceptual tigers. Is there a physical tiger in the room with you right now? You're safe enough to sit in front of a computer at this moment. So any tiger is a conceptual tiger. Can you recognize that in this moment you are physically safe? In this one moment you are physically safe. What happened?
Yes, I think I can.
You can. And what was it that you were carrying before you recognized that? Are you kidding yourself that that burden was necessary? What if you every day, several times a day, as many moments as possible, just put down those conceptual tigers that aren't actually threatening your safety at that moment, what happens then? So let's not even worry about, is there a self? Is there a self to be preserved? Let's not worry about those things. Let's just say that, just put down the conceptual tigers again and again and again, and then see what happens.
Thank you.
Tori?
Hi, Sentha. Thank you so
Hey.
much for the lecture. And when you were talking about that cone, right? And I was looking at it at first, I was like, what? I didn't quite understand. But then when I figured out, I was like, whoa, like, I feel my head exploded at that moment, you know, because that circle, it can also be like a symbol of reincarnation, or just like daily, every day we're going through that little moments of reincarnation, and you know, without a vexation and everything, just feels like I'm running on the hamster wheel. But that awareness is that one single point, and they're not disconnected. They are very much you know, one thing, right? Or not a thing, but it's
at no point is there not a connection to the,
right.
the source,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that's the point that that's Zhongmi's point that Peter Gregory is making with that illustration.
yeah, and maybe also this is just my imagination, is the cone is getting smaller, so we can have a very big circle or smaller circle, or somewhere in between, is that it kind of spiraling towards the point, right?
Yes.
Or
are you spiraling out in the other direction?
or it can be, and the circle just gets bigger.
Yeah.
That would be awful.
There's this word prapancha, with the proliferation. I think that's
Yeah.
appropriate in this.
Yeah, and I also associate with another thing is the symbol of Buddhism is the Dharma wheel, and you have just one circle and that point in the center, the center of the wheel, and also I guess the spokes that come out of it, you know, to the wheel, the circle itself. Yeah, these are just some crazy thoughts.
I love it. I love it. So Tori, oh my gosh, you know, I love the visual metaphors are very powerful, and I'm like, I have to illustrate what you just brought up, which is there's a hamster wheel that could take you farther and farther and make the circle bigger and bigger, and there's a Dharma wheel that can pull you back.
Yes. That's great. Thank you.
It's lovely. Thank you. And then in the chat, Tom says that Je, the fourth stone Je, is a form of knowledge. As a form of knowledge that illustrates Wu Wei is also a very Taoist concept. Okay. Is that the knowledge? Is that the first stone Je or the fourth stone? I've got to look again. Oh, you have the first stone. Yeah, that's the awareness that illustrates Wu Wei. Okay, that's wonderful. Yeah, I mean, there's so much Taoism in Chan. It's all a part of Chan. And by the way, in this article, what the point that Peter Gregory makes is that the Herze school died out with Zhongmi. Zhongmi didn't appoint a successor, and then, you know, his thoughts, you know, were picked up by the Neo-Confucian school. Certain of his ideas were picked up by the Neo-Confucian school. I don't know. Is there anything that is truly original? One wonders. And Robert is like saying it's almost like a nonstop radar. Awareing. Yeah. Upaya. Yes. Anybody else? Anything? All right. Join palm. And let's dedicate the merits of today's practice so that all beings everywhere receive the merits of our practice.